Texas and Oklahoma are reportedly trying to negotiate their exit fees with the Big 12 and get out of paying all the money up front. Bob Bowlsby can't allow that, right? We'll examine today in this video. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. I encourage you to click subscribe. I talk college football every day on this channel. Right now, that means conference realignment every day on this channel. I try to give the Big 12 a voice. I've already done a video on part of the report that came from Sic Em 365. Those guys, David Smoke and crew, do an awesome job. I'm sure you see them on YouTube here. A part of their report also centered around Texas and Oklahoma and the exit fees that they will owe the Big 12. To quote straight from the article, here is what it says. As for the payment owed to the league, the two programs have told the Big 12 that the plan is to pay exit fees over two large sums. The concern from the Big 12 perspective is once the first deposit is made from exit fees and Texas and Oklahoma are released to join the SEC early, the second deposit from the exit fees will get tied up in court and the future of the second payment will be up in the air. Yeah, I would be very concerned about that if I were the Big 12 as well. In fact, I would be putting my foot down and saying this cannot happen. Absolutely cannot happen. Look, I guess I can't fault Texas and Oklahoma for trying this. You might as well, right? I mean, even if you are somebody with deep purse strings, you would rather pay less money than more. This is a pretty large sum of money to absorb at one point, even for a Texas or an Oklahoma. And hey, even rich people can be very stingy with their money, right? In some cases, that is in part how they got to the point where they have a lot of money. So this is not unheard of, but look, it just is an eye roller if you're somebody outside of Texas or Oklahoma. All we hear about all the time from Texas is how much money is being made, how much money there is. It's the best brand in college football, according to the Wall Street Journal. Okay, if you have all this money, all these finances, that's what sets you apart from the rest of the lowly league, then pay up. If you want to get out, just pay up. Write the check. You'll figure it out. I'm sure you can because you're Texas, right? There's an unlimited supply of trust fund money, of daddy's money, whatever it is. You can find it and figure out how to pay that, okay? There's even this little fact, and this was something that Chip Brown from Orange Bloods reported very early on in the process of Texas and Oklahoma leaving, that ESPN still owes Texas almost $160 million for the final 10 years of the Longhorn Network contract. So there's some money where it could come from as well. Do that, figure it out. If you're going to leave, if you want to leave, if you want to get out by 2023, just pay. You'll be okay, I promise you, because you're Texas, right? There are checks endlessly flowing in at every second of every day. Now, here comes the more encouraging part of the report if you are a Big 12 fan, an irate 8 fan, whatever. It says, however, Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlsby will not allow a first payment and being told that the second check is in the mail, according to sources close to the situation, which, thank goodness that is a part of the report, and I would not have expected Bob Bowlsby to react any differently. This is the guy, remember, that went public with the cease and desist against ESPN and the accusations of tortious interference. That was a guy who, when pressed with his back up against the wall, was not just the mild-mannered guy that you typically see out there at the podium. He reacted much differently. This, again, is in that same vein. These are two people, two powers that have tried to take him down, essentially, with their actions. I would not imagine that he's going to give in to what it is that they want to do financially here. This is not something that you can just put on layaway. This is not a down payment on a house and then mortgage payments coming later, Texas and Oklahoma. It's not exactly how it works. Of course, they would want to tie it up as long as possible in the court system here to either get out of paying it or pay it way down the road or in installments, et cetera, just whatever you can do to muck it up. And that would be much, much worse for the schools currently in the Big 12 because, look, if the TV contract is going to go down significantly, we'll see what it's going to be. But if that is the case, these schools are going to be looking to fill the gaps, make it a little bit easier to transition budget-wise into a new world where you're not making as much money. And some of that will come down to things like coaching salaries. How big of a deal would it be for the Big 12 if Matt Campbell were to leave because Iowa State can't up his contract to the level that they would need to, or they might be able to if they had some of this extra exit fee money laying around, right? Those are the kind of things that could really do harm to your conference if you don't get all the money straight up right away from Texas and OU. More from the article, it says the Big 12 will remain patient, sources said, and if it doesn't receive the full exit fees based on departure time, it will not give in to the total amount owed. For now, if the full amount for 2 to 3 years isn't paid up front, sources say the Big 12 won't budge, and Texas and Oklahoma will remain in the league until the grant of rights expires. So yeah, a couple of points on this. This is not just, hey, pay the standard exit fee. This is if you want to get out a couple of years early, you're going to have to pay a tax on that as well. We've all just assumed that will happen with the AAC schools. It will be north of $10 million that they're going to have to pay to get out. UConn gets referenced all the time. They paid 70% over that $10 million by paying $17 million to exit a year early. So if we're going to translate that to the Big 12, that's a pretty hefty price tag. If it's already $80 million for you to leave, if you're going to put a 70% tax on it like the Big 12 did there, or rather like the AAC did if you're the Big 12, then that becomes very, very expensive for Texas and Oklahoma. But you need to hold their feet to the fire. If you are the Big 12, hold their feet to the fire. This is big business. Texas and Oklahoma certainly fancy themselves big business, then operate like it. Write a big business check. And this is something that probably should have gone toward the beginning of the video, just to remind everybody of the particulars of the financials here, because it's easy to gloss over this or get it wrong. Texas and Oklahoma, by leaving the Big 12 at any point, even if it's in 2025 at the end of the grant of rights, they will owe the exit fees, which would total about $80 million per school. You get that because it's supposed to be 2 years worth of revenue per school. So that's somewhere around, the Big 12's been paying out around 40 per year. It's around 80 per school. You're looking at 150 to 160 million in total for those. That's going to happen no matter what. Now, if Texas and Oklahoma want to leave early, again, that's where I start talking about the tax on it. There would be a tax on it in all likelihood, as long as the Big 12 holds strong, much like there was for UConn leaving the AAC. So you're talking about adding on to that money. And then if you're leaving early, if you're Texas and Oklahoma, the grant of rights also still holds the TV revenue for your home football games through 2025 back to the Big 12. So it's a large financial undertaking for these schools to leave early. And I know everybody just says, look, Texas and Oklahoma, they got lawyers, they'll figure it out. We'll see. I don't see the precedent out there of schools leaving leagues early where there hasn't been some kind of agreement where financially it is north of what the typical exit fee actually is, man. So we're talking a ton of money that would be coming back to the league. And the good news from this report is that it does not look like the Big 12 is giving in right now, which they should not. They should not give in an inch here. You can release them to go early, but it's not going to be without the appropriate fee. And Texas and Oklahoma, for all the talk about how much money you have, in particular Texas here, you will not be getting off cheaply. Stop acting like you need to handle this cheaply. Stop acting like you are at a point financially where you have to put something on layaway. You don't. You're Texas. Figure it out. That's going to do it for the video today. If you have not subscribed, please do click subscribe here on this channel. I talk college football every single day. Right now, that means conference realignment every single day. I try to give the Big 12 a voice. You can follow me on Twitter at JL Kurtz. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at John Kurtz Show. And you can find in the description links to my daily radio show. Take care, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.